right, so we'll get going. First of all, thanks so much for being here. This is 3 secrets to 4xing the profit on your sales and marketing funnels, and I'm Kim Snyder, the founder of Sync to CRM. Now, just in case I already confused you with the title, it's because I've been you don't know this, but I've been split testing 2 different titles. So some of you may have seen 3 secrets to a more profitable sales funnel, regardless of what you sell or who you sell it to. And then a bunch of others of you saw how to 4x the profit on your marketing campaign. So for my title slide, I just decided, okay, how am I going to deal with that? Well, I'll just mush them together into the 3 secrets to 4x the profits on your sales and marketing funnels. So regardless of what you sell or who you sell it to. So interestingly, in case you're wondering, the 3 secrets title, which I was very surprised by, went out. But anyway, so that's what we're about today. And get my slides going here. Now, 4xing your profit, right, is a pretty tall order. And if you watch the video that I sent you a day or 2 ago, you know that I promised you that this wouldn't be hype. It wouldn't be hypey. I hate hype. So sorry, I'm just arranging windows here so I can see. There we go. So the question is, how are we going to do that? Well, there are 3 facts that we can use to reverse engineer that 4x improvement in profits. And so I'm going to show you those here in just a little bit. I'm also going to talk a little bit about my 7-step system for Facebook advertising success. Actually, in the interest of time, I'm going to hit mostly on the 3 middle steps, but the whole thing is in a very detailed blog post on my site, if you're interested, called the 7-step system for Facebook advertising success. But again, we'll talk about 3 in great detail. And I'm also going to show you a quick demo of Sync to CRM, which makes all of this possible. For those on the call who don't know me, I want to say thank you for trusting me enough to give up an hour or 2 of your time today. And in the interest of time, I will give you a mercifully brief introduction. Again, my name is Kim Snyder. I am the founder of 13 companies, including my most recent, which is Sync to CRM. Company number 9 was number 826 on the 2008 Inc. list of fastest growing privately held companies. In fact, we were a 2-time Inc. list honoree. We were on the Inc. list in both 2008 and 2009, but that doesn't all fit on the slide. I am an Infusionsoft certified partner, Infusionsoft certified developer, and proud to have been Infusionsoft's 2014 most helpful partner. My passion outside of business is playing polo. So back to the burning question of the day, how are we going to get to 4x? Well, here's how. I am going to show you how to create a funnel that sells more without burning out your email list so that you can sell more often. I'm going to show you how to avoid an almost universal campaign mistake that costs marketers 40% of the potential profit. And I am going to show you the new way to lower the cost of Facebook ad campaigns and improve conversions using data that is trapped in your CRM or email service. ESP, I should not use these acronyms. Your email provider, okay? Now, here's why this is important to you right now. Most of what we have learned about marketing automation is dead wrong. Now, it didn't used to be. In fact, it wasn't just not very long ago. But things are changing in our space really, really rapidly, and now it is. Second, the average person receives 146 emails a day. The average open rate on those emails is 32% and dropping fast. And here's the thing, the success of your business depends on getting your messages in front of the right people at the right time. In short, the game has changed. Now, in case you are wondering if you are in the right place for this webinar, if this is going to be a good use of your time, here's the deal. If you spend $1,000 a month or more on social advertising, or aspire to, or know you need to, you are going to love what I show you today. If you are a performance marketer or a lead gen professional looking for the next big thing to drive results or aspire to be, you are absolutely in the right place. And if you are a business owner or marketing director responsible for achieving the growth goals of your organization, then you are most definitely in the right place. Now, I want to make sure that we have a little bit, before we get too deep, right? I want to make sure we have a meeting of the minds about what is and is not possible. No system, strategy, or software is going to make you more money than you are today if you don't do the work. I want to just be absolutely clear about that up front. There's no such thing as magic. While most CRM makers would not appreciate me saying it, the fact of the matter is the majority of CRM users make little or no money from the software. And while Facebook also probably doesn't love me to say it, the majority of Facebook advertisers make little or no return on their Facebook ad dollars. But here is the thing, y'all. The problem is not that the software or ad platform doesn't work. I can't tell you how many times I hear that. Oh, I put out, an ad or two and it doesn't work. Or I bought Infusionsoft and it doesn't work. Or, Active Campaign, it doesn't matter what you're talking about. It doesn't work. How much work did you do in it? Well, not very much. Well, you're the common denominator there. Now, that may sound a little bit harsh. However, I have a confession to make, which is that I struggle too. Right? I was in the second class of Infusionsoft certified partners. My software integrates CRMs and email platforms with Facebook ads. I know what I need to do, but I still struggle to find the time and motivation to do it just like you do. In fact, this very webinar came out of me sitting down one day and deciding to kick my ass into gear and actually get a proper funnel built the way I knew it was supposed to be built, and stop being the cobbler's children, or I guess cobbler's child in my case, right? Is it hard? You bet it's hard, right? That old cliche, if it was easy, everyone could do it. But is it necessary? Well, only if you want to grow your business. Okay, so that's the understanding that I want to have up front, because a lot is possible, but only if we do the work. So here we go. Let's get started. Let's talk about those 3 facts I mentioned earlier that are costing you money, because yep, they're costing you money right now, but the good news is these are actually, if you turn it around and reverse engineer it, these are actually the opportunities to make more money. And I'm going to run through all 3 of them for you, and then we're going to talk about them in more detail one by one. So here's the first one. Laser targeted campaigns, which use Facebook custom audiences, have 77% larger reach, 387% higher conversions, and cost 64% less. That is a big opportunity. People who see supporting email and Facebook ad campaigns are 70% more likely to convert than those who only see one or the other. That is a big opportunity. And third, leaky bucket scenarios quietly drain 40% of potential profit from campaigns. That is a lot of money being left on the table that we are going to go get. So let's start with the first one. Laser targeted campaigns using Facebook custom audiences. What you need to understand about Facebook advertising is that Facebook rewards relevance. They want people to be happy receiving their ads so that they don't get pissed off and leave, because this is how they made $3.69 billion in profit in 2015. Happy users are very, very important to Facebook, and that's very, very important to you. In order to guide you, Facebook have created something called a relevance score. And if you look it up on their website, this is what they say about relevance score. Relevance score is calculated based on the positive and negative feedback we expect an ad to receive from its target audience. The more positive interactions we expect an ad to receive, the higher the ad's relevance score will be. Positive indicators vary depending on the ad's objective, but may include video views, conversions, likes, shares, etc. And the more times we expect people to hide or report an ad, the lower its score will be. Ads receive a relevance score between 1 and 10, with 10 being the highest. The score is updated as people interact and provide feedback on the ad. So Facebook rewards relevance by showing your ad more often at lower cost. Now here's an example shown in an AdEspresso article. They said this ad we've been running had a poor targeting and cost us an average of 14.2 cents per website click. And you can see the relevance score is 2.9. With the exact same budget, we generate 4 times more clicks. This ad had was the exact same ad, but was targeted to a website custom audience that was made up of users who had visited their website in the last 90 days. So the relevance score on that one is 8, which they got a cost per website click of 3 cents. So they went from 14 cents to 3 cents by changing the targeting from basically an untargeted ad to just simple targeting visited website in the last 90 days. They said with the same budget, we generated 4 times more clicks, 1,103 clicks to this blog post compared to the 278 of the other campaigns. Shares, likes, and page likes are through the roof as well. And this is just one example of how important this idea of relevance score is. Now, how do we take advantage of this concept? Well, first of all, the most obvious one is to use custom audiences to make ad targeting as laser focused as possible. The more tightly you can drill down, obviously, the better. Now, for those of you who don't know what a custom audience is, because I've mentioned this term several times already, it's just Facebook's way of saying list. That's it. You create lists in Aweber or MailChimp or whatever platform you use. In Facebook, they call them custom audiences. They are lists of users who meet certain criteria. So when you hear me say custom audience, think list. Now, if you're not completely up to speed on Facebook custom audiences, given that they are absolutely central to the rest of this presentation, then I want to encourage you afterwards to go find the Great Guide to Custom Audiences on our blog. And I'm not saying it's a great guide, that's what it's called, the Great Guide to Custom Audiences. Go find that on our blog and read it. I know I'm biased, but I believe it is actually the most definitive piece yet written on Facebook custom audiences, and I wrote it specifically because I couldn't find the information that's now in it. So again, you can find that on our blog, okay? Because you're going to hear a lot about custom audiences over the next 80 minutes or so. All right, so that's one thing. Custom audiences, laser focused. All right, the second thing is to use what's called dog whistle copy to call out your audience in your ads. Now here's an example of dog whistle copy. I've got a couple examples from my swipe file. So this guy, if you look at the copy right at the top of the ad, right after free webinar, he says, for years, we've been helping speakers, authors, entrepreneurs, and organizations find and book stages. This is about relevance, right? He doesn't want people who aren't speakers, authors, entrepreneurs, and organizations looking to book stages clicking on his ad, okay? So one of the ways to make it relevant is by using this, what we call dog whistle copy, right at the beginning of your ad. Here's another example from Amy Porterfield. You can see it again. It's always right there at the top, calling out your audience. If you sell info products or programs, digital courses, or coaching and consulting services online, that's her audience. That's who she wants to engage with this ad, right? So she calls it out in order to drive her relevance scores up. And then what? Then speak to the audience specific to where they are in your funnel. Here's an example, actually, which is kind of fun. Some of you may have seen this ad. I got this idea from Scott Olford, actually, and I immediately stole it. So, right, I can't wait to see you for our 4X Your Funnel Profit training on the 16th. See you at 5 p.m. And then below, see you on Wednesday. On Wednesday at 5 p.m., discover how performance marketers are using Facebook and email campaigns, working together to 4X their campaign profit. See you there. So the reason I say you may have seen this ad is because the only people who saw this ad were people who signed up for the webinar. And the intent of this ad was one thing and one thing only, which was to increase the number of you who showed up at this webinar, right? And so this is when I say speak to your audience specific to where they are in your funnel, right? You had just signed up for my for this webinar, and so you saw this ad. And how did I do that? Because we created a custom audience in Facebook of everybody who just signed up, for everyone who has signed up for this webinar, and used that to serve up this ad. Very specific. Is this relevant? It's immensely relevant. This ad cost me basically nothing to run because of the way it was set up. But to you, it was immensely relevant, which is what we are going for here, right? And then to just take it one more step farther, we want to make the images relevant to where they are in your funnel as well. Now, remember, because of the relevance score, your job as an advertiser is to create ads that will attract the right user, and not only attract them, but make them happy to have seen your ad and hopefully share it or engage with it. Okay, that's fact number one that we're going to turn to our advantage here. All right, so back to our second fact that's going to make us a lot of money. It's this. People who see supporting email and Facebook ad campaigns are 70% more likely to convert than those who only see one or the other. Now, I call this idea integrated campaigns. You may have heard me talk about it before. Integrated campaigns. Now, this is Ads 101 stuff, y'all. This is not a new idea. If you think about it, big brands run the same ad campaign across multiple medium and have been doing since donkey's years, right? They run print, TV, radio, outdoor, digital, all at the same time, all the same campaign, very similar look and feel and wording and imagery across all of them. Why do they do that? Well, they do that because it has always been true that the more medium, the higher the impact. Now, how do we take advantage of this? Well, in a few minutes, I'm going to show you an example once we get to the 7-step system. But for now, I want you to just wrap your brain around the potential for profit, okay? Here's broadly, in broad strokes, how we're going to take advantage of these numbers, and we'll get into the specifics and show you in one of my integrated campaigns here in just a moment. But at a high level, what you need to do to take advantage of this is run Facebook ads and emails with similar copy and consistent landing pages. Now, that study that was done by Salesforce, where those numbers or where that graphic came from, you only looked at the overlap between email and ads. But clearly, it doesn't have to be just email and ads. In fact, it could be a lot. It could be more, and the more the better, right? So let's take a look at this webinar campaign just as an example. Again, a fairly simple example. For this particular webinar, this is what I did. I ran a 4-day email campaign. They started on Sunday. It ended today. Depending on when you signed up, you got 1 or 4 of those emails, right? I had influencers emailing their list. So, okay, 2 different email campaigns going there. we ran ads to all contacts in my CRM who had not registered for the webinar or weren't already a Sync to CRM user. Well, why did we do that? So we weren't running this to cold traffic who'd never heard of us before. We weren't even running this to people who had visited our website. We were using a CRM custom audience to show this ad or these ads only to people who were in my case, Infusionsoft, who had not registered for the webinar, and it knew that because we tag people when they register for the webinar, or weren't already a Sync to CRM user. Those are the people who saw the ads, because obviously if you are either of those other two, I don't want to pay for that ad. If you've already registered for the webinar or you are already a Sync to CRM user, you're of course welcome in the webinar, but I'm not going to pay for an ad to get you there, right? So that was number 3 piece of the integrated campaign. And then number 4 piece of the campaign was a social media campaign, which again had the same copy and images as the email and the ads. So this is what I mean when I talk about an integrated campaign, and you'll actually see one here in detail in just a second. Okay. All right. So let's go the third fact, the very important fact that we're going to reverse engineer to get that 4x is leaky buckets. Leaky bucket scenarios quietly drain 40% of the potential profit from your campaigns. Now, what do we mean when we say leaky buckets? Well, the way I define a leaky bucket is, and by the way, I didn't come up with the term leaky bucket. I'm not really sure who coined it first, but here's how I define it. All the contacts in a campaign who you either cannot reach for some reason. For example, you don't have their email address yet. They've opted out. You've already sent them too many emails, and if you send them any more, you're going to burn them out. For whatever reason, you can't, they're in a campaign you can't reach, or who do not reach the next goal in your campaign. In other words, they don't do what you wanted them to do. They haven't complied. They're non-compliant. Those are what we refer to as leaky buckets, and you'll see what that looks like. I'm going to show you a lot of leaky buckets, but let's just look at one that is a very big leaky bucket, just as an example. And then we're going to deal with this example coming up. So this is emails, right? Big leaky buckets right here. If you look at this graph, the top is the emails delivered to a server. But then if you look at that's the blue line, top line. If you look at the purple line, you'll see that is approximately 32%, we'll call it 32%, or let's just use a round number, 30% of people who get your emails actually open them. So the issue and the opportunity is, what about those other 70% who haven't opened your email and don't and won't? How do we reach on every campaign? How do we reach those people? That's a leaky bucket. That's an opportunity for additional profit. And then we can look at the differential between the purple and the green. Of the 30% who do open our emails, only 4% of them are going to click through. So what about the 26% who don't click through? And we can't keep sending them emails forever. So how do we deal with those people? How do we use or what mechanism are we going to use to try to convert more out of that leaky bucket? So that's kind of the issue. In fact, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's just jump into the 7-step system and the sample campaign right now so that we can see how we're going to deal with all of these things, including that leaky bucket. Okay. 7 steps to Facebook advertising success. This is actually a very in-depth blog post on our website, which I would encourage you to read. But for now, I'm just going to tell you what the 7 steps are. And then we're going to do steps 2 through 5 in my example. So here are the steps. Step 1, pixel everything that moves. I'm going to assume that you know what a pixel is. If you don't read the blog post, you will do. And actually, even if you do know what a pixel is and you're struggling with Facebook's new unified master pixel or conversion pixels and all of that, or how to Google Tag Manager and pixels. It's all there in that blog post. Knock yourself out. Step number 2 in the system is defining your customer journey. Step number 3 is creating a slew of Facebook custom audiences. Can't have too many of those. Step number 4 is creating those integrated funnel campaigns in Facebook and your CRM that I was just talking about. Step number 5 is using Facebook ads to plug leaks, the leaky bucket, right, in your funnel. Step number 6 is to measure the results and iterate. And then step number 7 is to scale the campaigns. So as I said, we're going to skip over step number 1, which is pixels, which you can read about all the gory details. And we're going to pick up with our example at step number 2, which is defining the customer journey. So in this case, the customer journey we are working with is a very, very basic version of the Sync to CRM customer journey, which for purposes of this webinar, I have defined like this. We have cold traffic. Okay, that's a digital marketer term. People who do not know us from Adam, never heard of us before, don't know what we do, or that we have that we can solve a problem that they have. That cold traffic has to come into our orbit somehow. And in my customer journey, and as is recommended, we begin first of all by showing them valuable content. Okay. And we believe that typically someone will need to have seen like 3 pieces of good content before they will opt in to our email list. That's from there what we're trying to get next. We get the email opt-in, and as soon as someone opts in, where I'm trying to drive them next is to this webinar that you are in right now. So you are actually in this little customer journey that we're talking about right here in the webinar. And from the webinar, then I want to get them into a free trial of Sync to CRM, and then from the free trial, of course, I want them hopefully to convert to you to convert to a subscriber. Okay, so this is the way I look at our customer journey for purposes of this example. Okay, now the easiest way to show this to you was I actually put this just on a spreadsheet with some columns and started to put some numbers to it. Okay, now this isn't absolutely essential for the customer journey, but I think you'll find it very, very useful in terms of the way that you think about these campaigns. So what I did is I said, all right, let's go left to right. In terms of cold traffic, well, that's going to come from organic traffic, pay-per-click, referral, and direct, but mostly it's going to come from Facebook advertising, pay-per-click. All right, now what I know is this. And by the way, when you're first starting out, when you really don't have this well defined, or you haven't been measuring this, then you're going to have to just make some hypotheses about these numbers, and then let the numbers prove themselves out as you go along. But you've got to kind of manage to something, and so it's helpful to have some numbers, even if they're guesstimates to begin with, to plug in here. So what I know starting out is that I had about a point on my Facebook ads, I had about a 0.5% click-through rate on my blog posts, right? So when I would run an ad trying to get people to click through to the website to look at blog posts, 0.5% would be the click-through rate. And then of those who were viewing our content, our blog content, then about 20% of website visitors will opt in to one of our email lists or lead magnets. And then once I get someone opted in, about 40% of those register to attend this webinar. About 40% of those actually show up, and actually looking at our numbers, that might be a little high, but that's why you prove them out. And then of those who do attend, about 40% of you will convert to a free trial. And of those of you who do try the free trial of Sync to CRM, about 70% of you actually convert to a user. Okay, so then what do I do? I actually then start to work backward. Okay, we say, all right, let's assume that the average Sync to CRM subscriber is about monthly recurring revenue of about $75 a month. that we have a churn rate of about 3%, that our monthly recurring revenue goal is $1 million a year. And, or if you break that down, that's about 125 new users per month. So in order to get that, working backwards, that means I've got to have 42 new trials per week, or 10 a day. I've got to have 267 people per week register for this webinar, and 107 of those attend, which converts to 667 email opt-ins per week, or 3,337 clicks on my ads, which at $1.50 cost per click would be $5,000 a week. Ultimately, which I'm not spending anywhere near that at the moment, but I'm also not getting anywhere near these numbers at the moment. But just, again, because this kind of gives me something to manage too, right? Tells me where I ultimately need to be. So from here, once I have that customer journey, in order to create these integrated campaigns, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to start just working my way, again, left to right. And to begin with, these are just basic campaign stuff, okay? So the first thing I have to do is I have to get cold traffic to my website to view 3 pieces of content. So I'm going to run ads on Facebook to do that, obviously. I have no other well, that's where most of my traffic's going to come from. I've already said that, right? So I'm going to run ads that have an objective, which is to get them to click to the website so that I can pixel them. Remember, I said step 1, pixel everything that moves. And the target audience that I'm going to use, let's just say for purposes of this ad, is I want Facebook users who have an Infusionsoft interest. Now, that was a lot right there, and let's just break this down into some pieces real quick, okay? So first of all, let's talk about the objective. Obviously, I'm promoting my blog post, but let's talk about Facebook ad objectives. So Facebook gives you, when you go to create an ad, one of the first things it does is it says, what do you want to accomplish with this ad? And you pick from this menu. And you can see clicks to website, which is the one I would use for this particular ad, because that's what I want to accomplish. I want them to click to one of my blog posts, right? Clicks to website is the one I would choose here, but I have all of these other ones as well that might be relevant depending on what it is that I'm trying to do. And the reason they give us these ad objectives is Facebook is, it is said that Facebook collects something over 2,000 pieces of data about each and every one of us. They watch us, right? We're all being pixeled. Every website that we visit, chances are it has a Facebook pixel on it. Mine, yours, everybody else's on this webinar, right? And all that data is being fed back to Facebook. They not only do they know what we do on Facebook, they know what we do off Facebook as well. And so they know a tremendous amount about us. And so when I say that I want clicks to the website, in order to make me successful, because yes, they care about the user experience, but they also care about advertiser experience. And so they're really, you can kind of think of in this context of Facebook as being the world's greatest matchmaking service. They are or another way to think of it is they are an ad agency whose sole purpose in life is to match up buyers and sellers who are going to be thrilled on both ends of the transaction, right? Both of whom are going to be happy. And so when you tell them these ad objectives that you want, out of the 1.5 billion people per day on Facebook per day, they find the 200 or 2,000 or so who are most likely going to do what the action that you want done. In this case, clicking to my website, because they know you have a propensity. You may click to websites, but never, ever, ever watch a video. Whereas I may watch tons of video, but if you give me a link to click through to someone's website, forget it. I'm not going there, right? So they know that, and they will not only serve the ad up to people who meet your criteria, but are also most likely to take the action that you want. And so that's what these Facebook ad objectives are. I kind of got off a little bit more on that than I intended to, but at any rate, clicks to website is the objective that I'm going to use for this particular ad. And then in terms of the targeting, for those of you who do Facebook ads, this will look very familiar. If you haven't, this is what their ad set target screen looks like. And specifically what we're looking at is this down here at the bottom, where we say I want to target everyone in the United States, Canada, and the UK between the ages of 33 and 47 who are men, which this example was a little more detailed than the one that I just gave you. I said I was just targeting Infusionsoft users, Facebook users who with an interest of Infusionsoft. I actually got a little more specific in this one, but you can see our Facebook page admins and have an interest in Infusionsoft. So these are the interests that I'm going to target. This would be a typical, here I was split testing some things. That's how I got that. But anyway, this would be a typical target that I might be going for this ad. Okay. Okay, so that would be my first part of the campaign. All right, what comes next? Well, once I get them visiting my website to see my blog posts, and they're being pixeled, then what I want to do next is I want to drive them to opt in. All right, I want their email address. So the way I'm going to do that is by serving up a lead magnet. Or lead magnets in this case. And again, so there's multiple objectives here that I might use in order to get their email address. Facebook has their new lead ads, which are a on-site form where they don't even have to leave Facebook to fill out your form. That would be one way. And then the second way would be, again, to get them to click through to the website and to a landing page, and with the traditional opt-in form on it. Okay, either way, I'd probably run both. Although quite honestly, I'm not doing as much with lead ads as I thought I would, because I just haven't quite gotten around to it. But anyway, right, so I'm going to drive them to a landing page or some form to opt in, and my targeting here is going to be all pixeled website visitors over the last 180 days, excluding those who have already signed up for my email list. And that, again, is a custom audience. It's a CRM custom audience, which stays updated with everybody in my email list so that I can exclude it. So what does that look like? What do I mean exclude it? Well, so here's what that custom audience target would or ad would look like. Website, all site traffic 180 days. This is a website custom audience coming from the pixel. And then I'm going to exclude sync to CRM email list, right? And I'm also going to exclude sync to CRM users. Now, actually, my users are probably on my email list, so I don't really necessarily have to do this. But again, just to kind of get full coverage, because why am I doing that? Because I don't want to pay for people to see an ad getting them to a lead magnet when they're already a customer or already on my email list, right? So that's how I'm going to exclude them there. Let's keep going. Next step, because this is all the basic stuff. I want to get to the kind of the cool stuff. The next step is, after they've opted in, I want them to attend this webinar. So I'm going to send them, the typical email campaign that delivers either the lead magnet or acknowledges the fact that they've just opted into my email list, and start to push them to a webinar. So now we're on email. These two are ad. This is email. After that, I want to send them when you register for the webinar, I want to send you an indoctrination sequence, potentially a liquidator offer, which you didn't get, but I'm working on that. And then as well as a core offer to attendees once you all have attended, right? So then you're going to get some emails trying to convert you to the free trial. And then from there, let's say you convert to the free trial, then you'd get the email campaign, which would be the customer onboarding sequence, and then yet another email campaign, let's just imagine, which is a customer feedback sequence. And this is all really standard stuff up to this point, right? It looks like this if you use Infusionsoft. Of course, you can do the same with Active Campaign automations or Aweber or MailChimp or whomever. This happens to be, a campaign in Infusionsoft, but this is kind of what it would look like. All of this stuff up, before, after. Whoops, go back. Hang on. There we go. Up until this point was ads, and then once you opted into the list, then zoom, off you go, down through the email part of the campaign, right? Now, that's all well and good, but let's start thinking about leaky buckets here and how we can start to wring more money out of this campaign. This is what most people look like. This is where 95% of people building campaigns are going to stop, right? But we're not. We're going to keep going. And this is what this starts to look like. All right, leaky bucket number one. I'm going to call this the power boosting ad campaign. But there's a big leaky bucket right here, which is that of the people, well, let me move back here for a second. This leaky bucket back here, which is the 0.95% of people who view my ad but don't click through, well, that is just solved by this ad campaign, because it's just going to keep showing it to people until they do. So these leaky bucket campaigns are going to pick up after someone has actually opted in. And so what I'm trying to do is deal with the fact that 20% of my visitors, 40% of my opt-ins register, but 60% don't. So I really want to try to wring. I can only send so many emails, right, to get you to register for this webinar, and after that, I'm going to burn my list out. So what can I do to wring some more money out of that? Well, I have a Facebook ad campaign, the goal of which is to get more registrants, more than these 40%, to the webinar. And the targeting on that is all contacts. This is the one I told you about earlier, excluding people who are already registered and potentially also who have already are Sync to CRM users, right? So this is leaky bucket number one. How do I get more than this 40% number? Once I've exhausted all of the potential in my email campaign. And so this targeting is going to look like this. Again, I mentioned this earlier, all contacts, excluding anyone who, the custom audience for anyone who registered for the webinar. And I just want to make sure that you guys are clear on this, because I'm guessing, because most of our client base is Sync to CRM, is Infusionsoft, because that's where we started. So just using Infusionsoft as an example, this idea should be really, really familiar to you, right? When we say custom audience, we're talking list. So you could also think tag or save search. That's a list. And in the same way that in Infusionsoft, when you're looking for a group of contacts, or you're trying to decide specifically who to send an email to, you would say, show me, everyone on this list, but everyone with this tag and this tag, but not with this tag or that tag. So this is this tag, and this is the excluding is the but not with that tag, right? So when I say tag, you can just substitute list. Everyone who's on this list, but not on this list. It works in Facebook exactly the same. Again, they just call a list a custom audience, okay? So that is how I would target people once I could no longer, or in addition to sending them emails, because I'm only going to send them 1 or 2 or 3 emails, but then I'm not going to send them anymore. And just to give you a sense of kind of what I'm not going to spend a lot of time on ad creative here, because that's not really the crux of this particular webinar. But again, just to kind of start for you to start to see what these campaigns are about, I'll do the first couple and then I'll skip past this. So, this is standard stuff, right? Free live, I just threw some stuff in here. Free live online training. Do you spend more than $2,500 a month on Facebook ads? Learn how to create Facebook and Infusionsoft campaigns that work together to improve performance, right? That would kind of be my my ad copy that I would use there to try to get more people into this webinar than would get there with the email campaign alone. Okay, so that's Power Booster number 1. Now, Power Booster number 2 here is, I could do these together, but remember the relevance score. We want to be, in all cases, if you can, you want to sort of err on the side of more targeted. So here, I've got another Power Booster campaign for, again, an ad campaign for people who register for our webinars but do not attend. So of course we know this because we use software that after this webinar is over, updates all the contacts in our database to say, did you or did you not attend? And so now we know we have a registered tag for you, and we have an attend or did not attend. So we know who that is. So now we can turn around and we can start running ads immediately to those folks who are not joining you tonight, right? And start saying webinar registered, excluding anyone, by doing webinar registered list, excluding anyone who attended. And then what's my goal there? Well, it's to, again, drive them back to attend, because that's another leaky bucket. That's this 40% register, but only 40% of those who register attend. So that's another leaky bucket that I can turn around. Again, I can send them a couple emails, but only so many. But I can show them an ad for a really, really long time, right? And so what would that look like? And well, let me show it to you, and then I'll tell you why I did it that way rather than just lumping it in here, which I could have. So the targeting on this, for example, would be, so everyone who registered for the webinar, right, and but did not attend, exclude anyone from the list attended webinar. Okay, so that's very simple targeting. And the reason that I broke them out separately instead of lumping them together is, and because I said this earlier, you want to use images and language that meets them where they are in your funnel in order to get the highest conversion rates out of these ads and to be the most relevant that you possibly can. Then you do things like this. This is digital marketers language, right? It's become pretty ubiquitous around the web. Did life get in the way? This is a second chance to learn how to build Facebook and Infusionsoft campaigns that work together to lower costs and improve conversions. I'm speaking directly to that person who missed this webinar. And when you do that, I mean, it should be fairly obvious that it just gets people's attention in a way that generic, non-personalized language and images don't. Right. And so, again, I could have just kept those people, kept running those same ads that were trying to get them to attend the first time. But I know that by breaking this group out into a second group, because I can use language that's more specific to them, I can get a higher conversion rate out of this group than I can out of the broader group, which is just people who are on my email list but haven't attended yet, right? So the more specific I can get, the more my language and images are tailored to that, the higher the conversion rate I'm going to get, and that's what I want, which is why I took the time to break these out into two. And hopefully that makes sense to everybody. And if not, then you can feel free to ask questions about that. Okay, so that was my, in terms of my integrated campaign, that is Power Booster number 2. Then let's go to the next one. Oh, by the way, on this one, if this were a complete example, and it's not, I would, that ad I showed you that said "see you on Wednesday," right? That is actually a power boost, another power booster in this column. And this is, by the way, when I first started working on this funnel, this is the way I do it, because otherwise, because you're using multiple platforms, potentially social media posts and Facebook ads and email campaigns, etc. To me, it was a lot easier to lay this out like this, just lay out literally on a spreadsheet, and then go back and build the ads or posts or emails wherever they needed to be. So if you saw this full thing, then you would see that ad that said "see you on Wednesday" that only went to people who had registered for the webinar would be in this column as well, because it's not trying to get people to register, it's trying to make sure that they attend, right? That's a leaky bucket. So I'm trying to improve the conversion rate there as well. So there's some other things here, but that's enough. I just ran out of room on my slide, so I'm not covering that. You've already seen the ad. Okay, all right, so let's move on to the next column where I do have some room. So Power Booster ad campaign number 3 is my objective is this is the people who attended. This is you. Okay, now what I want to do is drive you to a free trial of Sync to CRM if you aren't already a customer. And so my targeting here, yes, of course you're gonna get emails tonight, right? The core offer, or tomorrow, or whenever it's gonna be. But again, that can only go so long, and then I'm going to show you ads at the same time in order to hopefully get that better result. And the targeting there is going to be all contacts who attended. Okay, that's you, excluding anyone who's already subscribed to Sync to CRM, which is a custom audience. Both of these actually in this case are custom audiences. And so again, just to show you what that looks like. So we have a custom audience in which is attended webinar, which this is data. This is CRM custom audience, which is being kept synced from the from Infusionsoft in my case. And then we have another one, which is current customers, which is also kept synced. And so by saying show this ad to everyone who attended, but exclude anyone who's a current customer, right? Now this is starting to get more and more and more and more targeted down the funnel. Right, and now I can show you a very, very specific ad based on that. Now I won't keep going through these these ad sets and creatives, because I think by now you kind of get the idea of what's happening here. But just to carry this through a little bit farther, this idea, here's another one, the number 4. So now you're in my free trial and I want you to become a paid subscriber. That's my objective. If 70% convert to paid, there's 30% who don't. So that's the leaky bucket that I'm trying to address right here. And so my targets there would be all contacts in the database who have a status of trialing. That's yet another CRM custom audience that I can target with an ad, right? Now here, what would that ad be? By the way, I said I wasn't going to go through it. I'm not, but this would be the perfect place to show, for example, a customer testimonial ad, or ads about case studies of success stories with using our software, or things that are just generally going to reinforce the decision to take a free trial and hopefully convert to a subscriber. That would be the sort of creative that we'd use in that ad. And then you could have another one here, potentially for people who canceled, people who didn't convert to, got all the way through their free trial but didn't convert to paid user. Maybe here we wait for 90 days. We're not doing this right now, by the way. This is a future campaign. But, we wait for 90 days and then use targeting that said canceled trial 90 days ago and start showing you ads that said, hey, a lot has changed since, you last looked at Sync to CRM. We've got lots of new features, lots of new integrations with lots of new platforms. Come back, give us another try. So that would be another leaky bucket that we will eventually address with an ad. And then finally, the last one here would be the last piece in our this particular example journey would be that we want marketplace testimonials, because those are obviously important to us. So we may here have targeting, and again, we do not have these two done, but where the idea would be you've been a subscriber for more than 15 days, you haven't been tagged as having given us a review, so we're going to start, we've sent you some emails to try to get that done in this customer feedback sequence, and you haven't done it, so we're going to start hitting you with ads. Was it something we said? Who knows exactly what those would look like, but that's generally the idea, and the idea of leaky buckets. But really, this integrated campaign addresses all 3 of those facts that I told you about in the first place, which is where all the money comes from. The first one being the idea that relevance, highly relevant, targeted ads using custom audiences, that the more targeted they are, then reach goes up, conversions go up, and ad costs go down. Well, as we get further and further down this funnel, this targeting allows us, because we can use our CRM, custom audiences, allows us to be even more laser focused than we would be without them. The second one was the fact that if you are simultaneously seeing similar messaging through multiple medium, that being in this case just email and ads, that you are 70% more likely to convert than if you only see one or the other instead of both at the same time. And then so you can see that right here. And then of course the last piece being this idea of the leaky bucket, which we are addressing with each one of these power boosters. So this little example hopefully has shown you all three of those. Okay. So, all right. So we've gone through the numbers and where the 4x profit comes from. If you implement all the ideas, or the general idea in your own business, because of course my business and yours are going to be different, but the general idea that I just showed you. You've also seen part of my 7-step system for implementing, and literally this is how I do it in a simple campaign example. So, all right. So here's where we are. Everybody knows that Facebook advertising works. Otherwise, Facebook wouldn't have made $3.69 billion last year if it didn't. And everybody knows that email marketing works. There's, even with the challenges with number of emails in the inbox and open rates, etc., it absolutely positively still works. Just look at how many top digital marketers use it, right? No question. Which is why you're really, really smart to deploy both of those in your business today. And I expect, since you're here, that you are. Now, in the past, in order to run integrated campaigns like the one I just showed you, you had to upload and download CSV files between your CRM or email service and Facebook. And the problem with that was that, number one, it takes a lot of unproductive time to do. Number two, it isn't scalable, which is step number 7 of that 7-step process I told you about. And number 3, the data, if you do it that way, the data is almost immediately stale and therefore useless. So now what I'm going to do is I'd like to show you what makes this all possible, at least if you don't want to waste money showing the wrong ads to the wrong people, or spending your time uploading and downloading CSV files and having no ability to automate or automatically scale these campaigns. Of course, if you don't care about any of those things, then you can just do this by hand. But as a performance marketer, I'm assuming you do care about these things. So let me show you here very quickly Sync to CRM, which I built to solve these very problems specifically. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play you a very quick portion of one of our demo videos. And this happens to be an Infusionsoft centric video because it was our submission video for Infusionsoft's Battle of the Apps. But don't let that throw you, the fact that it talks about Infusionsoft, because of course this works with any, the idea works with any CRM and or email platform. We are not integrated with all of them yet, but we're working as fast as we can. And I also am just going to beg for forgiveness right up front in the rudimentary way that I'm going to play this video, because for now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to literally play it and put my mic next to the speakers and pray this works. All right, it's just so you know, it's under 4 minutes. Okay, so here we go.